right, everyone, today we are going to go over our minimum functional capacity. This is the minimum of what you need your clients to be able to do before you can start working with them. Other than that, if they can't reach this, ideally you are going to refer out because they are not meeting the minimal requirements to even begin an exercise program. So there's 5 components to this, and the first one is gait speed. So you can do a 6-meter gait test, or you can do an 8-meter one. 6 meters equates about 20 feet, so it's that 19.68 feet. And the standard here is you want them to be able to complete the total distance and average out greater than 0.6 meters per second. So that puts this whole 20-foot distance, or the 6 meters if we're doing our metric system, in 10 seconds or less. Okay, so you have them start behind their line, you tell them go, you press the timer, go, and then they walk. If they can't cover that distance in the appropriate amount of time, then they fail on that functional capacity as far as walking gait goes. Okay, so just make sure wherever you have them that you're writing down and keeping good metrics for their baseline. And if you're brand new to this person, don't give them an 8-meter test when you could give them the 6-meter one. So either of these are acceptable, just the average distance has to be 0.6 meters covered per second. Okay? The second one is your sit to stand test. You want to make sure your client can get 8 full reps in 30 seconds or less. So make sure that your chair is sturdy against a wall or a box for this example. You're going to have your client stand in front of the chair. You're going to start the timer and say go. They're going to go 1, 2, 3, and you want them getting 8 in 30 seconds. If they get 6 in 30 seconds, write that down, but they didn't pass the test on that functional capacity requirement. The third one is curls, so 8 reps with 4 kg, which is times 2.2, it's like 8.4 kgs, or pounds. So I don't have 8-pound dumbbells. I do have 10-pound dumbbells. Keep in mind, if you're using anything off of what the standardized measurement is, the criteria, you can't compare them to that. So I can't give my client 10 pounds and expect them to be able to complete 8 curls. Maybe they only get 7 because that extra 1.5 pounds really pushed them over the edge, but they could have gotten 8 with the appropriate weight. So keep that in mind. Whatever you do your pre-test with, you have to do your post-test with the same thing. But if it's different than anything here, even if it's just a little bit, you can't really hold them to that criteria. Maybe give them a couple extra seconds, but as much as possible, try and get with these metrics, okay? This is what the research and the general norms are on. All right, 10 steps in 30 seconds. Typically, you're gonna want a stairwell because that's the most functional, but if you don't have access to that and you have a step box that you can use, that's perfectly okay. But keep in mind, if I'm having my client take 10 steps up, that's 5 up on each leg, more of a concentric movement. If I have them go 5 up here, I'm also having them come down, which is an eccentric movement, and that's double the amount of steps because it's up, and instead of continuing up, you're coming down. So you can't have them go 5 on each leg because that's about double the reps in that amount of time, in that 30 seconds you want them in. That's not gonna happen, and that's not a fair assessment. So again, I'm going off the grid here. I'm not using a staircase. So if that's the case for that, get close to the 30 seconds and realize this is probably a little bit more functional because it's eccentric. Although they're probably not going to go back down backwards, it's still working those extra muscles that they would when they would be going down a step, okay? Except for it's more hamstring than quad. But just keep that in mind. If I'm going to have them do 10 steps total, it might look like 1, 2, 3, 4, all right, and make sure they're leading with the appropriate amount. I would probably go 3 up on each side and then get them maybe within 32 or 34 seconds. So again, not the perfect criteria if we're comparing apples to oranges, but you have to work with what you have, and as long as your pre-test is the same as your post-test, that's kind of a fair comparison, but you can't compare them to general norms if you're not using the norms. All right, and the last one is the chair sit and reach, assessing our flexibility. So you'll instruct your client to sit down towards the edge very comfortably. One foot's gonna be planted down here, foot is totally flat to the floor. The other one, you're gonna have them kick straight. This needs to be straight, no bent knee or no hyperextension. I can't give an example of that because I can't hyperextend. Toe needs to be pointed up. So you will hold this down on their toe here. This is the 0 point. All right, so pretend this is here. You're gonna have your client's hands over another. You're not gonna have them twist. They're gonna stay totally parallel here to each other. Big breath, exhale, and then the head goes between the arms. So I met my toe, which is the 0. You want your client to be able to meet a 0 on the left leg and the right leg to be qualified as the minimal functional capacity. So that's that 5th metric. You don't have to use this if your client can get to their toe. What's the problem with that? If they can't get to their toe, I don't know how far off they are. Maybe they got to -5, maybe they got to -3. I have no standard for that because I don't have a tool to measure that. So as best as possible, make sure you have all your equipment. This is super easy equipment, cheap equipment. It's a good field assessment. And as much as possible, if you don't have to order a clinical exercise test, you want to be able to do things that are easy and you can do anywhere with your clients and that they're cost effective as well. So again, you need them to meet all 5 of these standards for minimal functional capacity to be able to start working with them and programming. If they can't do all this, or let's even say they met everything but they barely met it, that's 100%, that's their max. So you're going to use that and program off of. You're not going to have them do that much for a workout. They have to do less than that for a workout. Maybe you want to program them at 60% of their 10 steps. That's 6 steps, okay? So keep that in mind. When you're working with people, definitely don't overshoot it. If you've never worked with them before, don't have them do 8, have them do 6. Don't make them do more than that minimal test. And if they breeze through this, you can kind of just pretend that was a warm-up for whatever you're going to do. But keep that in mind. You don't want to scare people off by giving them more and them getting so sore or just so intimidated that they don't want to come back for more. So start easy, and if they start saying like, oh, you're not challenging me enough, that's okay. Then you can challenge them a little bit more. All right, let me know if you guys have any questions over this.